This episode of Cinema Recall contains adult language, adult situations, some spoilers, and some brief nudity, so listener discretion is advised. Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another edition of the Cinema Recall podcast, covering in detail Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. Bringing back with me our historical expert, Mary Mitchell from the podcast Whatever with Jason Soto. Hello again, Mary.
Hey, what's up, Vern? What's up, everybody listening?
Hello.
How's it going?
So good to have you back on the show.
Hi.
You've definitely become our historical expert. Anytime I want to do an old movie from Britain in the older years, you are my go-to lady.
Oh, awesome. I'd love to do that.
And I'm very thankful for that. Really quickly, Mary, what other sort of like British period piece movies would you recommend besides Barry Lyndon?
Well, my favorite, and I know I talked about it last time, my favorite movie before I saw Barry Lyndon was Pier Pasolini's The Canterbury Tales.
Yes,
it's not an English movie. It's actually an Italian movie. It was filmed in England, obviously, but the director and some of the cast members are Italian. But I love that movie. It's so believable as being like set in 14th century England, and the sets are amazing. The actors look like actual like medieval people. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that. That's a kind of an underground movie that a lot of people don't like. I've never really met anyone else that has seen it before.
It's on my watch list. I promise you, it's on my watch list. Is there any newer movies that you would recommend to people out there? Like anything after 75 or?
I liked, well, let me think. Yeah, I know that Jason didn't like this movie. I tried to have him watch it, but A Field in England was interesting.
Okay.
That takes place during the English Civil War. I liked The Witch. Not as much, like, I thought it was a decent movie, and they did a good job of making it, like, historically accurate. But, yeah, that one was good. Anything after 75, I think all the best. Well, and also this is before 75, but going back to the 50s, The Seventh Seal.
Oh, sure.
That's set during the Black Plague. And then also Bergman's The Virgin Spring is a medieval movie. But that's going back to like the 50s.
The Virgin Spring, which was later remade as Last House on the Left by Wes Craven.
Yeah, it's actually a really decent movie. Max von Sydow's in it. He's great. He was great in that. But yeah, I know that there are others I can't like think of off the top of my head. Probably think of them later and be like, oh, that's what I should have said.
Well, very cool. So definitely, listeners, check out those other platforms or those other features as well. Now, quick little shameless plug. We had a great amount of people retweet our last episode or share our last episode of Barry Lyndon. And so
awesome.
I want to give those folks a quick little shout out right now. So thank you very much for sharing our episodes. And if you do share future episodes, we'll give you a shout out on episodes. So for Twitter, we had shout outs from Ryan L. Terry, who is the creator of Force the Crowd podcast, which is a really great audio sitcom. We have shouts from Movie Drone, Mike and Oscar, Mutant Theater, Sci-Fi Remnant, Jonathan Ruggiero, Podcast HQ, Via VHS, Your Next Favorite Movie, Chris Revel, and Horror Dad. So thank you very much for
people. Thank you.
Give us a nice little retweet there and late in the episode. I even also Ryan Luis Rodriguez of the podcast, the Kunis Chronicles, as well as Reels of Justice, listened to one of our first episodes and was like, hey, I am really loving this very much. And
Really?
yeah, so shout out to him. And I listened recently to the recent episode of Whatever with Jason Soto, and I'll give him a quick shout out here too, because he listened to our first episode.
Yes.
And really enjoyed it.
He's told me how much he really liked it. So yeah, thanks for listening to Jason. That's awesome.
Yeah, so very cool. Like always, you can catch Mary on the Whatever with Jason Soto podcast. And quick little shameless plug, I do enjoy the show very much with you and Jason.
Yeah.
I like the show compared to other podcasts that talk about whatever, because other podcast hosts try too hard to sound like radio disc jockeys.
Yes, I agree. I've heard a lot of like true crime podcasters that just try to accentuate like every little thing of their voice to try to make them sound like DJs or something.
Like,
yeah.
They don't talk like naturally like people talk to each other. Like you and Jason have actual conversation with each other, and it's a lot of fun to listen to. You crack jokes and whatnot. But you don't have this like fast talk like, hey everybody, welcome to 93.7 FM. The Jason Show.
Yeah.
Hi, the banter of yours to sound like natural. You're not trying to appease to
and me and Jason could just talk forever about anything, and our conversations just kind of take twists and turns and stuff. It's super casual. Like I love doing the podcast.
But right now we are going to get into our conversation, continue our conversation of Barry Lyndon. But right now we're going to take a small little break. I'm going to play some ads from some amazing podcast shows, and then we'll be back, all right?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hello, meat popsicles. Why don't you grab your multipass, a drink, and come sit with us?
Let's pick each other's brain. We want you to be part of our intimate conversation about science fiction topics.
Let's do this. Join us, and let's talk about science fiction topics in books, movies, TV shows, and games.
At Science Fiction Remnant, you are invited to listen in.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And don't forget your multipass.
Have you been thinking about a film for quite some time now? Have you got nowhere to turn to talk about it? Well, the Film for Thought podcast is here for you. Every fortnight, I invite a guest on to talk about any film of their choice. It could be old or new, controversial or classic. If you have some thoughts about films, I want to discuss them. New episodes drop every second Friday, so make sure to come along and check out the Film for Thought podcast.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Let's Chat Club. Find out how you can become a member by going to the website letschatpodcast.net. Alright everyone, welcome back to the Cinema Recall podcast. You just heard some great podcast ad spots. If you're on our site, please click the links and go to those shows. Tell them the Vern sent you. They are a lot of fun and I love each and every one of them. So, continuing our discussion of Barry Lyndon, where we left off. So, last episode we mentioned that Barry was in the company of this German girl, I would say. I think she's German. I'm pretty sure she was. And he's free in the country, and he meets up with these Prussian soldiers. I believe they're Prussians. And he says he's heading towards Bremen with a letter for General Williams.
Yeah, he was going towards Bremen, which is in Germany.
Yes, and he assumes the identity of Lieutenant Ferdinand, and he meets up with his Captain Prostov. If I misspell names or mispronounce names here, I apologize immensely, but I think it's Captain Prostov. And He's treated with him like great respect and care by everyone in Captain Prostov's army. So he gets to go to, I guess, the court here. So they're in Prussia, which I don't know exactly what that is, but I think
it's not around anymore. I think it's what is it now? It's like, see, I'm not good at that.
Yeah. And I wasn't quite sure too of like, cause I've never heard of the Prussians
I think
before.
It's part of like Austria, where Austria is, and
Okay.
Germany. I know that they wanted to kind of like take over during the 7 Years War, which was like between Britain and France, and then Prussia had a hand in it too. So yeah, I think it's somewhere in like current day Austria or even like Poland in that area.
Fair enough there. So he gets taken to, the castle. He's treated with great respect, and Redmond Barry is telling all these tales of stories about his uncle and everything like that there too. So everyone believes him to be a British soldier. And I love what the narrator says, because the narrator says that Captain Prostov is, very intrigued by him, but he was leading Barry on through a skillful combination of questions and flattery.
Flattery, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that scene when he gets called out by Pottsdorf. That's so great.
Yeah. And so he ends up having to join. So Redmond Barry ends up getting called up, or gets called out. He has to join the Prussian army. And in one key battle sequence, Prostov gets injured when a bomb gets set off here. Because I forget, who are they fighting in that scene? I did not write that down. I don't know if you did, but...
Right, I think they were fighting the French.
They were fighting the French.
And that's another scene where you notice the narrator just doesn't say anything.
You're right. True.
He like just like when he saved Grogan and the narrator shuts up, he's literally saving Captain Pottsdorf, the guy who hated him and put him in the army in the first place. He had no reason to do that.
True.
And he puts himself into danger to do it, and the narrator goes completely quiet.
I find it kind of funny, too, because when you watch the scene, after the French take a cannon and they explode the side of the building, you see this soldier get trapped underneath this log. And Lyndon, Barry at the time, Redmond Barry at the time, he actually takes the initiative to take this heavy log off of him. And I never really thought, or I understood it was Prostov, until the next scene with the king, and the narrator announced that, he saved Prostov's life. But in that one moment, when the cannon goes off, he kind of falls with his face down. Prostov does. You never actually see his face. So I thought that Redmond Barry was just saving some random person's life, which is very commendable. But to know that it was Prostov, and here's a guy that hated Barry and just wanted him to, be a foot soldier in this army. I mean, they whip him.
Yeah. The gauntlet. He had to. Yeah, like that. It seemed like they were even saying that like his experience in the Prussian army was like a million times worse than the one in the British army.
Yeah. So I think they put him in the army for the mere notion that this guy's gonna die here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just a human tool. Just to Yeah. And the fact that he does literally save Pottsdorf, like he didn't have to do that. He could have just ran for his own life, But then they commend him in the next scene. They give him the thing, but then they also like tear him down and in the same breath almost. They commend him like, oh, you saved Captain Pottsdorf, but you're a liar, and all that.
God. So basically, after this, he gets hired to be a spy for the Prussian army, and they want him to go to. I think they want him to go to Berlin. Is that where he's heading to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To be a spy for the Chevalier.
The Chevalier.
Chevalier.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, that's why I have you on here, Barry. You're the one that actually made sure I pronounced words right. So
interestingly enough, the word chevalier is French for knight. So.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Chevalier is this native from Ireland, and the Prussian generals or kings believe him to be a spy. So he's going there to be a spy for them, to find out if the Chevalier is actually a spy. But when he meets him, he actually confesses that he's a spy for the other army, and he becomes this sort of like double agent. Now,
yeah, and that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, when he breaks down in front of the Chevalier and says, like, it's like one of his countrymen, and then the Chevalier had the same reaction, and he hugs Barry, and they're just both standing there. Like, I love that scene.
Yeah. Now,
it's great. That also shows the humanity of Barry. Like, I feel like if he was such a horrible person, he wouldn't care about who he's betraying, but he refuses to betray one of his own countrymen, which again speaks to his character. Like, it's and then the narrator never, really says anything too much about that.
That's true. Yeah, it's damn, this narrator's an asshole.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, he does mention it a little bit, but it's just kind of shows that, like, all these people he's in the middle of a war. Like, he has no reason to do any of that. He could have just done his job, but
sure.
The fact that he refused to betray him and, ended up befriending him.
That's really cool. One thing I noticed about the Chevalier, that is played by actor Patrick Madee, and listeners may recognize him as being the husband of the woman who is raped at the beginning of A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, he is so, like, memorable in that role.
But even after when Alex comes back to the house and he's there,
he's in the wheelchair.
When I watched, Barry Lyndon, and I hear the Chevalier's voice, I'm like, gosh, that voice sounds familiar. And then,
yeah, so unrecognizable in the makeup too, like all that stuff on him.
Yeah. And that's the only other roles that I recognize him in. I know he's been on a few episodes of the 1960s series The Adventures, but that's basically it. Yeah. After he becomes like this double agent, what happens next is that he becomes a double agent, and he also helps the Chevalier character cheat. He helps him cheat at, I don't know what they're playing. It's some type of poker. I don't know what that is. It's something with cards.
Yeah, some type of old type of card. Yeah, I've never been really too good at understanding cards in general. So
here's the weird thing too.
What they're actually doing is completely. What was that?
They seem to have like this, like some sort of like billboard where they put cards inside of it, like this billboard that people can see, and they put playing cards, and then people bet on the hands that are going to be played. Because I actually saw in the background, there's like this chart of different playing cards, and they kind of put, it's like a shelf, and they put like different cards on this shelving unit, and for some reason you have like these chips that you bet money with, and all I see is just people like putting chips back and forth, and
like
people clap.
I can like barely understand like Go Fish. I'm like so bad at like, cards. So I have like no idea. And I also don't know if it's like some sort of like antiquated like card game that like, people don't play anymore, like something that people are playing in like the 18th century.
God. Well, it's in these moments where we get the really great candlelit sequences. There's a lot of them that go on in the movie.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of them during these gambling sequences and even dinner with Sylvie. So this was shot by cinematographer John Alcott. Now, John Alcott got his big break when he was an assistant to the cinematographer for 2001: A Space Odyssey. But after 6 months, that guy got fired or left, and so John Alcott took over that production, which is a pretty daunting task to be an assistant to one of the biggest sci-fi movies ever, to actually becoming the cinematographer for that feature.
I'd say so.
That's got to be a big thing. And then afterwards, John Alcott helped shoot other movies, such as A Clockwork Orange and The Shining, and a few other features that I am not going to remember off the top of my head. I know he shot a movie called No Way Out with Kevin Costner and Sean Young, and that's all I know about that. But I did find one other thing fascinating about the cinematography, Mary, is the fact that they actually shot this movie in a lot of the actual real locations.
I love the card scene. Those sequences with the candlelight, like the ones that are outside are good when, like him and Grogan are standing by the fire and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But those inside sequences with the cards, because they're all in like these beautiful, elaborate mansions, and everyone is wearing all this like elaborate clothing, and it's really elegant looking and fancy, and it just illuminates everything. Like it looks just, I don't keep saying this, but it's like everything just looks like a painting.
Oh, speaking of which so both Kubrick and Alcott, they try to copy the styles of early paintings. And I know they're mainly influenced by the paintings of, I'm going to try to pronounce this right, but I'm not going to, Gainsborough and Haworth. And so those are pretty... And I actually watched a documentary about the cinematography, and they actually did a lot of comparisons to paintings of that time, and then shots of Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon, and they're very similar. And I know we mentioned before on previous episodes that they actually had to use a custom lens made by NASA.
It was developed by NASA, yeah, that's crazy.
And so to kind of achieve that sort of notion right there, they had to build a special custom machine film gate and position that in a modified Mitchell camera, like a BGFI camera. And if you don't know about this, the Mitchell camera was one of the top models used in the golden age of Hollywood from the 30s to the late 40s. And I was listening to a interview with one of the gaffers and focus puller, and the work that these gentlemen had to do to help the cinematographer achieve those shots was really kind of cool. Because there was a quote from Douglas Milsom, who was a focus puller. He had to basically graph a scene for movements of the cast. So he had an image that was on the camera, and he had to kind of like, in his mind, draw a graph so that every time the camera moved, he knew exactly where to do the focus pull on the camera. Because there really was no way back in 1875 for them to see. They had no display monitors in a way. I mean, they actually did use another camera, like not a film camera, but like a regular camera to show the shot, and that's for the director to see things. But the gaffer and the puller really had to like use a lot of math and use a lot of equations to make sure that each time a character moved, that they were able to put the camera into focus. And I found it to be really kind of cool. A lot of times in those candlelit sequences, Mary, they used ambient light in the background, and that's basically to highlight a lot of the paintings in the room. There's a scene later on when it's Lady Lyndon and Lord Bullington, and she's playing a piano, and I believe he's playing a cello, and they're lit in candlelight, but you can still see stuff in the background. And that's the same thing, too, when you see a lot of the sequences with Chevrolet and Lyndon at card tables. You can tell that the candlelight is the main focus, but you can still see details in the background, which I think is absolutely amazing.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Like, you could take... there's a website called Every Single Frame, I believe it is, and it has Kubrick's movies on that, including Barry Lyndon, and you can just click around, and at any given time it shows a frame, and those scenes all look gorgeous no matter what it is. It's so good. Like,
and it's funny too, because like now for me, I think this is one of the best shot movies ever made. When it comes to like the best looking movies ever made, this would be on the top of the list.
Absolutely.
Number 2 for a movie that's really beautifully shot, and a movie that does not get any much credit for being beautifully shot, is The Love Witch.
Really?
The Love Witch is a beautifully shot movie. It's filmed in 35mm, directed by Anna Biller. Cinematographer is M. David Mullins. And they really worked hard to evoke filmmaking techniques from the 50s and 60s. Because they were not trying to make a period movie. Have you heard of this one?
The Love Witch? No, I have not heard of this.
It's really good. It's basically about a woman whose husband left her, so she gets involved with witchcraft, and she wants to develop a love spell for men to love her. And it's a movie that looks like it came from the late 60s, early 70s. It's a modern movie, but it's using the filmmaking techniques of stuff from the past. So it has like rear screen projection. The colors in the movie are absolutely astounding. Anna Biller did everything herself. She designed the costumes, did all the backgrounds, did all the paintings, even the spell book. She did the calligraphy of the writing of it. Just a really...
Wow, I have to see this now. That sounds amazing.
Really...
I'm looking at the Wikipedia now. It's like got all these awards, like universal acclaim, and wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it did not get nominated for an Oscar, which is one of the main reasons why I kind of dislike the Oscars, because they did not nominate this movie. I'm not dissing on who won that year. That's fine, but I'm really upset that The Love Witch did not get even a nomination, because the cinematography in that movie is pretty astounding. And I would put it up there, not as good as Barry Lyndon, but definitely in the top 5 of best Lyndon films of all time.
I have to see this. I did not even know it existed.
Yeah. And I think you can find it on most places. I believe it's easy to find. I believe it's on Shudder, and it's on Prime. And I think it's also available on Vudu for free with commercials. So it's pretty easy movie to find. I recently bought it on Blu-ray because I wanted to get it with the commentary tracks and other special features, but it's really cool. Anna Biller's a great person online as well. Facebook and Twitter, yeah, just super nice lady. She's always one to talk about her movie and everything, and even if you get the perceptions of her movie wrong, she's not like upset about it, but she'll explain her thoughts of it and what she actually wanted to achieve with the feature, which I think is actually really cool, because most of the filmmakers, they'll be like, you idiot, but she actually, she embraces, because she knows that people are going to have their different theories about a film, and that's fine, but she'll tell you exactly what she meant for it as well. So I thought I want to get that movie, just a quick little shout out here, just because we're talking about the cinematography, and I think that one is one for listeners to definitely check out if you haven't already. So he's there with the Chevrolet, and he's like, I like the fact too that him and the Chevrolet have different techniques for cheating.
Yes, he wipes the table with a cloth. It means that they're... Yeah, I love that. He asks, would you like some more punch, my lord? So clever. I know that you're cheating, though I cannot say how.
The Chevrolet gets into an argument with the prince. And the prince challenged the Chevrolet to like a duel, and saying that's the only way that he's going to get my money, because apparently the prince lost, and he said, well, I'm not going to give the Chevrolet any of my money. No, I'm going to challenge this guy to a duel, and that's the only way he's going to get my money. So I guess when the Prussian army of Captain Prostov and others find out about this, they want to get him out of the country or so, because they don't want him. And I get a little bit confused about the sequence there, because aren't they spying on him? I mean, wouldn't they want to do something else to get the prince out of town? I mean, aren't they trying to...
Well, it wasn't Pottsdorf. No, it wasn't Pottsdorf. It was actually Barry and the Chevalier and the people who, like the Chevalier staff and stuff, they secretly got them out of there. They had Barry dress up as the Chevalier. So that was a thing between Barry and the Chevalier, and then the Chevalier snuck out later on that night. But they wanted it to look to the Prussians like, oh, he's just leaving, No,
I got that's what they did. I'm confused earlier, because the Prussians decided that, well, we're gonna like capture this guy. He's gonna go out for, because Captain Prostov tells, or Barry, hey, does the Chevrolet go out for his morning stroll every day? And they're like, well, we're gonna take him and we're gonna get him out of the country because they want to like take him away from Berlin into. I had it written down here.
Well, because they at that point they weren't sure that he was a spy because Barry wouldn't really tell them anything of use. So at that point they just thought he, it's like, oh well, he might not be a spy, so they're trying to like work with him.
Okay. Well, any case, Barry dresses up as the Chevalier and without any papers and escorted by Prussian soldiers, he gets escorted to Saxony, where he becomes a gambler with the Chevalier who becomes there. That's like, oh, they were both able to escape together, but in secret, like not at the same time.
Yeah.
But there's like the army there, and I really kind of wanted there to be some sort of like, I don't know, like a good little heist movie with those two. Like I would be happy if there was like some sort of like con man job movie.
There could be a whole other movie just about the two of them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, just about them going from courts to courts and like scamming different players because they are accepted at these different palaces or different courts with the great esteem. Everybody wants to hang out with them and play cards with them. They don't even seem to be that upset about losing any money with this. Yeah. Well, this kind of is like a good little leadway because while Barry is there and he started to basically build up a name for himself, both him and the Chevalier are starting to build up a name for himself, and they're able to have like a lot of riches and money, not witches, witches and riches. Yeah. They were able to basically get a lot of riches, but they don't really have any sort of like title to their names. So basically, Barry needs to find a wife, and this is where he sets his sights on Lady Lyndon. And this is our first introduction to Marissa Benenson as the role of Lady Lyndon. Now, most listeners may know her from the film Cabaret. Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay. She was also in a movie called I Am Love, from director Luca Guadagnino, who did the remake of Suspiria, as well as the Oscar-nominated movie Call Me By Your Name. I remember Marissa from her episode with The Muppet Show, when she hosted that.
I didn't know she did that.
Yeah. But here's the weird thing, Mary. And she did a song about trapping a family in her home and slowly poisoning them.
What?
That was on The Muppet Show.
What? What?
That's
Why?
on Disney Plus.
That's amazing.
I swear, watch the episode. Everyone's talking about, oh man, Disney Plus is censoring episodes of The Muppet Show, but not that.
I know, I was just about to say, I'm surprised that it wasn't canceled already. That sounds...
Yeah. It may be now. At the time of this recording, it may be now. I don't know, but I was able to see this, and she's singing the song with this Muppet family about trapping a mom, a dad, and a little baby, and slowly poisoning each and every one of them. And the song's like, you can't leave, I won't let you leave, and it's this happy song with her Muppets. Yeah, it's dark.
That's hilarious.
If you actually, by the time this episode posts, if you look on our Twitter and our Facebook group called Crack, Cinema Recall's Awesome Cinematic Club, I will post a video of that. I'm sure I can find that on YouTube or somewhere, so I'll try to find that video and post it for people on our Crack page. So yes, check that out. Shameless little plug right there. We're actually getting into the part, so after he meets Lady Lyndon. So Lady Lyndon is involved with Sir Charles Lyndon. And
which, can I just interject? And I have to make a comment about Sir Charles Lyndon, because this is one of those details in the movie, like I was saying before, or like the small things I love, is the really, really old style wheelchair that he's in. Do you notice that when they show that shot of him, he's being pushed in this like really old style wheelchair, like 1770s wheelchair, and it has like a long stick in the front that he navigates by turning the wheel. That's just such an interesting device. It's like, holy shit, that's like a archaic wheelchair.
Yeah, it's got the like long back of it, and
yeah, it's just such an interesting thing. I love that. It's this old guy with gout in a really old style wheelchair.
And so we have his I guess Lord Bullington. At this point, he's played by Dominic Savage, and then also they have like, I guess their, what do you call here, their nanny. Who's the guy that's walking with them?
Oh, that's their minister. Like he's kind of like the tutor to Lord Bullington.
I think that's Samuel Runt, the character referenced Samuel Runt, played by Murray Melvin. Believe that's him. He reminds me of Alan Cumming.
Yes, I can totally see that. They look, definitely. And he was, interestingly enough, in another Kubrick movie. Not this guy, but Alan Cumming was in Eyes Wide Shut briefly.
Yeah, he was in Eyes Wide Shut.
He was great in that scene.
Alan Cummings was also in Spy Kids, and also one of my favorite movies of all time, Josie and the Pussycats. So, yes. And so after like one brief meeting, Lady Lyndon's in love with Barry, and they spend a lot of time together with each other. Now, when Barry first meets Lady Lyndon, this is where we get that very beautiful piano music that you'll hear.
Yes.
That you actually heard.
That shot with the moonlight.
Yeah, when she's like slowly walking towards him in the night.
Yeah, on that balcony or whatever. It's a gorgeous shot.
And that shot right there. Now, I remember this song because back in the day when they started to release Stanley Kubrick movies on VHS, they would always play that music to introduce. They had like this little preview of other Stanley Kubrick films.
I think I remember that. I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's just,
and they had all the different clips from it and stuff, like different clips from his films, but it didn't. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. It had like did it have like music from The Clockwork Orange like later on in it?
It did. Yeah, but it started off with this tune from like Barry Lyndon, and the first shot I saw was a clip from Barry Lyndon. I'm like, oh, okay. This is not a movie that I would really recognize as being anything from Kubrick. You start with Barry Lyndon. That's like the first shot you see in this little trailer is the scene from Barry Lyndon. I thought, oh, that's fascinating. And then it goes through the more familiar, scenes of movies from The Shining, Clockwork Orange in 2001. But that music always stuck in my mind. And then when I finally saw Barry Lyndon and heard the music for the first time, I would go, oh yeah, that's where that's from. That's from that feature that I haven't seen just yet. Okay, so that made sense now. So very, very cool with that. There's not too much to happen with this portrait right here, but I do want to talk a little bit about the costumes. You ever cool with that, Mary?
I love the costumes. Oh, absolutely. That's one of my favorite things about the entire movie are the costumes.
Now, the costumes were designed, and I just had her name listed on here, Melina Canaro. And she won the Oscar for this.
Well deserved. They're gorgeous. And all different, she does the scope of the costumes, because she does the really high class, like Lady Lyndon and all those, upper crust people with their silks and fabrics and all that, and then she also does like the poor people like Captain Feeney and Lichen and stuff, like the country folk, where it's like all wool and things like that and linens and stuff. And I think it's just like it's so realistic.
She really got her first start designing the costumes for our Clockwork Orange, and then she did work for The Shining as well. She also won another Oscar for her work on Marie Antoinette when she did the costumes for that.
She did the costumes for that. That's awesome. It makes sense, I suppose, because the costumes in that movie are great too.
She also did the costumes for Dick Tracy and a movie that I really liked called Solaris with George Clooney, which is a remake of a 70s Russian film. She did the costumes for that. And what I found fun, too, is that she really, like you said before, Mary, she does a great way of making the costumes look like they're worn. And that they have dirt and they look like they've been worn too many times in costume dramas. They look too clean.
Exactly. See, that's one of the things that drives me crazy about a lot of like historical movies is like I stopped watching a movie one time that was set in medieval times, and I stopped watching it because there was a character in there that was supposed to be a peasant woman, and she had a purple skirt. And I was like, no, like that, no, she had a purple skirt and like different beads on and like all these like jewelry and stuff. It's like, that's not what, no. Yeah. They wouldn't wear that. They wouldn't have had the purple dye or the amount of money to buy fabrics like that. Poor people back then were wearing wool, linen, and leather. They weren't wearing silks and all that. Maybe like the upper crust, it makes sense, but yeah, like they do look like they've been worn before, and specifically chosen by the characters too, if that makes sense. It doesn't look like something a costume designer threw at them to put on.
Yeah, that's even like we said before with like extras in the background. We talked about when Redmond Barry was training in the army and seeing the actual extras wearing like shabs, or the sequence of the two kids walking down the street with their clothes.
Yes, those little girls. Yeah, the little country girls. They have like straw and stuff stuck to their clothes. Like they would be like, it's like it makes sense that they would. And also you watch like Redmond Barry's clothing evolution through the film as he rises in society. His clothes change.
Yeah. And
the fabric clothes change, and he goes from being like kind of like just lower class country boy to wearing the full makeup in high court, and with the face paint and the wig and the silks and stuff that all those other people are wearing. He looks out of place wearing it because he's not really one of them, I suppose.
Yeah, very much so. Now, I just found out, too, that they actually used a lot of clothing from that period. I mean, a lot of the clothes that people are wearing are the actual clothes from that time period.
Wow. Like, really? I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Some of it was designed, some of it was copies, but some of it actually was actual real clothing. Because a lot of where this film was shot in actual real locations. So Kubrick and his crew, they actually had to sort of like schedule around tours of people, because while they're shooting this film, you could do tours of these places.
Yeah, like it's like a big country mansion, and it's probably like castles and everything. People going by taking pictures, and
so they had to like kind of shoot things, and they really wanted to like get like the magic hour of daylight, so they shot a lot of the movie during the wintertime, because that was like the key way to get the light at the right moment for certain shots of this, to actually have the daylight to be at the right moment. And when it came to the costumes, actor Ryan O'Neal had 38, and Marissa Benison had 20 different costumes, and I can't even imagine how many different costumes, the other actors had, or even day characters, or, background extras. I mean, the work for that has had to be done, like, a lot of work. So, shout out to Melina Carinaro for designing the costumes for Barry Lyndon, because they're actually really good. She also did the costumes for a lot of Wes Anderson features, such as The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou and The Grand Budapest Hotel. So, very, very cool. But right now, the plot, Redmond Barry has just met Lady Lyndon, and they're having this relationship, and Sir Charles meets up with Barry, or Redmond Barry, I should say, and says to him, "I'd rather be known as a cuckold than a fool." And it's like, "You are having some time with my lady here." And there's a moment where Sir Charles is like coughing really badly, and the next sequence is he is just he dies, and Barry.
And that's another thing that the movie kind of, yeah, it's like, oh, Barry like stole this guy's wife and just kind of stood over him as he's dying, but Sir Charles Lyndon was an old guy with gout and a million different health problems, but the movie almost kind of implies that it's Barry's fault that the guy died. Like, he dies yelling at him, and, you know, he starts having a heart attack and can't breathe while he's yelling at Barry, but Barry's just standing there not saying anything.
Yeah.
So, like, you know.
I mean, we do know that Redmond Barry is, you know, an opportunist, and, you know, he does have feelings, I guess, for Lady Lyndon, but at the same time, you have this notion that, hey, I want to basically achieve a name, a title, and during that time period, most people during that time didn't really marry for love. You know,
yeah.
They married basically for the fact to get wealth and to achieve status and a title.
Yeah, his mother keeps telling him too, like, you have to get a title, like, you know.
That's why you see a lot of, like, in British royalty, people want to get married off to princes and princes of different countries so that there can be a unity and so that the two countries could be strong. And that was one way to sort of like avoid war, was to do that. And it's important for rich people to marry other rich people and stuff like that. And that's why you always have stories of, like, you know, the famous prince that wants to marry that's why you had Cinderella, you know, the prince want to marry a common girl.
It's interesting with this movie too, and I keep saying that, like, how the difference between the narration and the actual actions of Redmond Barry, the movie kind of criticizes him as being an opportunist. It's like, okay, this guy's just a lowly, poor kid that wants to climb the ladder, and he wants a title for himself so that he can be rich forever. But at the same time, all the rest of the characters are doing the same exact thing.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Lady Lyndon totally married Sir Charles Lyndon for a title. Like, there's no way I could ever believe that that beautiful woman was in love with this old fat guy with gout. She married him for his title, but nobody seems to judge her for that. But it's just the movie's like looking down at Barry. It's like, look at this cold opportunist trying to ride the ranks. But it's like, well, that's the way that life was back then. And Barry's not even rich. He doesn't even have anything to offer her. It's not like, you know, it's like two rich people marrying each other. It's like, oh, this guy's just trying to rise the ranks, but why shouldn't he try to make his, you know, like,
yeah.
Life back then was a struggle, and the only way that, you know, it's like, oh, how dare he want to make a good life for himself. He just did the same exact thing that Lady Lyndon did by marrying somebody out of his, you know.
That is true. I mean, yeah, I'm thinking back to, like, that model Anna Nicole Smith marrying that millionaire, that 89-year-old billionaire. Yeah. Which is,
Lady Lyndon did that, but nobody said that she was an opportunist. And the movie implies that Barry's somehow wrong to do it. It's like, oh, he's manipulating Lady Lyndon. But if also you notice, Barry doesn't even talk about titles. His mother had to remind him that he needed a title to keep that lifestyle. Like, I think he just wanted to be rich, but I don't know, like, he's not really guilty of anything that anybody else in the film was guilty of, you know?
Yeah. And we mentioned, too, you know, that Barry has actually saved people's lives. You know, he cared very much for his uncle early in the film, too. He helped save Captain Prostov as well. And he just is very much a genuine guy. So when he does meet Lady Lyndon, he's like, hey, here's a girl that I can actually get involved with. And my talent stature can change. And, yeah.
in the beginning, the same thing happens that we see with Nora, because she married Captain Quinn for his money and his status. And the family was wanting that. They're like, oh yeah, we need Captain Quinn's money, but Barry Lyndon does it, and he's an opportunist. Everybody in the movie is an opportunist.
You're right. You're absolutely right. They're all opportunists, want to try and find a better life for themselves and everything. And yeah, it's just the way things were back then. I'm so grateful I don't have to live in a town like that now, because I would definitely be probably a poor person living in those times. But I would find myself to be like a scammer. I would probably maybe swindle and cheat my way.
Lie, cheat, steal.
I would be really good at it. I would lie, cheat, and probably get thrown in jail. And I'd be the guy that runs a brothel, but doesn't actually run it. There would be a madam there, and I would work making sure all the rooms are clean. I'd be working for her and making sure all the rooms and things are clean and everything like that. And be a horrible job.
But yes, it's just like showing the disconnect between the movie itself and Barry. It's like he isn't doing anything really wrong, but the movie like kind of looks down on him, like, oh, look at this ruffian trying to climb the social ladder and stuff. It's like literally every character in the movie does that, like from Captain Feeney to Nora to the Chevalier. Everybody's doing something like that, and I don't understand. Barry's more noble in his pursuits than a lot of the characters in the film, but
you are absolutely right. I believe that he is. He's got a lot of great humility to him and some great honor. Now, we're going to get to him in our next episode, which is going to be our final episode on Barry Lyndon, because there are things that he does. I'm thinking, all right, you're being kind of an asshole, but But we said before in other episodes, he's a very complex character. There are some good things about him, and there's some bad things about him. But overall, he actually has probably more good than bad about him. We're definitely going to get more into Lady Lyndon, because she may actually say more than a few words of dialogue in our next episode. All right.
Yes.
I really need to watch Cabaret with Marissa Benenson, because I heard she has more lines of dialogue. And her episode of The Muppet Show was actually pretty funny. She actually can sing, and she's a good dancer as well. So yes, I'm very curious to watch more of her stuff. She hasn't really been in a lot of other movies, except for the ones that I mentioned. And yeah, so very curious about that. But we kind of end before the intermission with basically Redmond Barry going to get the title of Barry Lyndon, because Sir Charles Lyndon has died, and so now he's able to take on the title. And he does this when he marries Lady Lyndon. And I never hear too much about guys taking their wife's name in a marriage.
That's yeah. Well, it's not even his wife's name. It's like his wife's ex-husband's name.
Yeah. Like, did that happen?
He was Charles Lyndon.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
I've
never heard of that either.
It's like your husband, taking your dad's name.
Yeah, because it's like he took Charles Lyndon's name from his wife, who was married to him, but then he died. Like, that's very bizarre.
So
maybe it's just because of the status of the name,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have to put a stature of a name there. That's one thing too. Like, every time when Barry assumes a different identity, he did it before with the Chevalier. Assumed his identity when he first came to Prussia. He assumed the identity of Lieutenant. I forgot his name right now. I was the name here, but yeah, Lieutenant Fagerhand. He says he's Lieutenant Fagerhand. Yeah.
Fagerhand, yeah.
Because he gives them the papers. Apparently, there's no photo IDs, so basically you can just say whatever you want in these times.
It's so easy to get away with identity stuff back then.
I would love that. Everybody, hi, I'm the king. No, I'm one of the king's aides there. All right, I just got hired.
A piece of paper that says so. Look.
Yeah. Pretty sure. No, you gotta give me the money here. I'm here to collect taxes here for the team. Give me your money. Oh, you sure? Yeah, I'm just got hired here. But you're supposed to call dirty. Trust me. Do you want me to go to the team and tell them that you didn't want to pay him? Because I will. All right. Give me the money. So yeah. But I think this kind of like wrap up this particular episode of our look at Barry Lyndon. Try to keep this one slightly a little bit short there, but we give you some insights into the cinematography, the costumes, and some of the actual historical themes going on in the movie. Our next episode is going to be kind of the big one. This begins part 2 after the intermission. This is where we get to find more about Barry Lyndon's relationship with Lady Lyndon, as well as her son, Lord Bullington. We're going to get more into the casting of Dominic Savage, as well as the older Lord Bullington, played by Leon Vitali, because he has a very interesting story with his collaborations with Kubrick. So very excited for that. One thing I'm going to mention here, and I'll probably mention it in our last episode, our next series that we're going to be doing for Cinema Recall, going to films, diving into them, is we are going to be talking about the film Mulholland Drive, directed by David Lynch, and my good friend and your co-host, Jason Soto, is going to be joining me for those episodes.
Hey, cool.
And we're also going to be joined by Ryan Luis Rodriguez of the Queen's Chronicles, as well as Reels of Justice. And we are going to actually go into this movie chapter by chapter and really we're going to unravel this mystery. So that's going to happen for, I believe, May, or sometime in May. I'm not quite sure. This episode right now is available for all Patreon members. If you're a Patreon member, you get episodes ahead of everyone else. So thank you for being a Patreon member. I'm going to give a shout out right now, no special order. I want to thank Jeanette Miller-Mickenham from her site, aka Jeanette. Thank you very much. You're wonderful. She's been a co-host with me for past episodes, including Sea of Love, as well as Showgirls 2. She was our great voice cast of Barbara and our Night of the Living Dead audio drama. I want to thank Matt and Ashley of Mashley at the Movies. They were on a previous episode talking about the Brian De Palma film Sisters. And they have a great website and podcast. Check them out, Mashley at the Movies. I want to thank Donnie Roberts, formerly of Cage's Kiss, now part of the Videorama podcast, which I'm very excited. I listened to the Cage's Kiss podcast, talk about the history of swear words with host Nicolas Cage, because their podcast is all about Nicolas Cage and all of his films. Then, of course, I gotta lastly thank Jason Soto of the podcast Whatever with Jason Soto. You can find that on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give them a rating, Whatever with Jason Soto. Really, really great stuff. Love all the episodes you guys do, and I don't know exactly what you guys are going to talk about next week, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
So,
thank you.
As always, you can listen to all of our episodes of Cinema Recall on our website, cinemarecall.net. We're available on Twitter at cinema_recall. We're available on Instagram, Facebook. Just search for Cinema Recall Podcast. Big shout out to you, Mary. Is there anything you want to plug or say before we go?
I just want to say thanks for having me on again. I love talking about this movie. I just want to, I guess, plug my podcast, Whatever with Jason Soto. It's really fun. Come have a listen. Come join the Facebook group. There's a lot of fun there. Come make a stupid poll about pizza or something or whatever you want to do. And it's a lot of fun. And I'd highly recommend it. So yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of our look at Barry Lyndon. We'll be back for our fourth and maybe final part. Or yes, definitely, because this is our. I'm not even quite sure what number we're at, but it's going to be our last episode of Barry Lyndon. Will be coming up in next week or so. So until then, I will say goodbye to you all and good night.
Bye bye.